Inside a farmer's barn.
All you see is these packed-in cars everywhere, bumper to bumper.
Rows of classic rides.
My jaw hit the ground. There was the Rolls Royce, the Bentley, pickup trucks, Camaros.
Harvesting gems from junk.
Dad would take the car down to literally the bare bones and then restore them and make them these beautiful pieces of art.
Wow, sparks are flying.
Here's one of the stars of the show right now.
His heirs hope to reap a fortune.
I'm Jamie Colby here in Savannah, Georgia today, on my way to meet a woman whose strange inheritance was built with blood, sweat, and gears.
My name's Sherry Anderson. My dad was a farmer who worked more than 5,000 acres of potatoes, beer barley, and sugar beets. But his real bumper crop was growing inside his barns.
Sherry, I'm Jamie.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to Savannah.
Oh, it's gorgeous and so great to meet you. Inside, Sherry shows me some old photos that tell the story of her father's 20-plus years restoring cars and trucks in his barns near Paul, Idaho. What variety?
Absolutely. He had cars dating from 1919 up to 1982. You've got a 1968 Mustang, which was Mom's cruising car. The 1928 Rolls Royce.
This looks special.
The 1950 Bentley, my personal favorite too.
The restoration wizard? Cal Phillips, born 1925. He spends his childhood working on the family wheat and potato farm in south central Idaho. Cal serves in the Pacific in World War II, returns home to work on the family farm, gets married and raises 6 children, then gets divorced in the late 1960s. He remarries to Marilyn Henshaw, who has 3 children of her own, including Sherry. It's like a blended Brady Bunch?
It is. The blessing was I got a great dad and I got some really great step-siblings too.
And says Sherry, her stepdad knows how to fix just about anything.
You had to figure out how to fix that car or fix that engine or make it work because obviously time was money when it came to farming.
In 1994, after half a century working the fields, 69-year-old Cal Phillips decides it's time to hang up his farmer's hat and begin selling off his acreage.
He was tired. He knew that his health was not going to let him do the farming as he would have liked to have done.
But rather than quietly slipping into retirement, he surprises friends and family with news that he wants to try something completely different, restoring and selling classic cars.
I didn't really think that Cal was the kind of guy to get into cars.
Maynard Wall, who's known Cal 40 years, is just one friend who's baffled. Why do you think he took up restoring cars?
He needed something to do. He wanted to do farm machinery collection, and I think he found out the cars were easier.
Cal has the basic mechanical skills. The rest, he'll learn as he goes. His first project, an old pickup truck. He strips it down to bare metal, patches up rust holes, and gives it a fresh coat of paint. What did he love about it?
It was something that he was discovering about himself and what he could do, what his talents were, and he put his heart and his soul into that car.
Cal finds a buyer for that old truck, but parting ways with his first restoration turns out to be harder than he imagined.
He sold it right away, and after he did, he cried. And that was just too much for him.
So he never sold any more?
And for that, no, he couldn't part with them. That was the first one that he ever did. So he left his mark on it.
He'll make his mark on many more. Like the 73 Mustang, or what's left of it. He transforms it into a red-hot beauty with fresh paint and a new white interior. How about a shell of a 1928 Rolls Royce? It rolls out of his barn looking like this. And check out this black beauty that Cal restores, a 1919 Model T. It's not an overnight process to restore a car.
No, it is not. He'd take every car down to the nuts and bolts.
How long did it take him to do this?
Usually it would take him minimum 6 months, if not a year sometimes, to restore a car.
Into his mid-70s, Cal keeps turning wrenches. He gives a 1975 MG Roadster a makeover from red and rusty to silver and sexy. And picks up some horsepower when he restores this 1966 Chevelle Super Sport. Check out those red vinyl door panels and white bucket seats. How about some fun in the sun with this 1949 Willys Jeepster? Cal gets looking like new inside and out. Would Dad pick up some of these cars on the cheap?
He'd love a bargain. I found several bills of sale where he may have only paid $500 for that car. It was a number of different types of vehicles, pickups, cars, muscle cars, classic cars.
Did Mom participate?
She did participate, especially on decorating the cars for the parades. She loved showing them off with my father as well, and loved riding in them, and once in a while even driving them.
By the late 90s, Cal has restored more than 20 cars. Next on his list, a 1950 Bentley.
You wouldn't believe what he found with that car.
But I'm about to find out. Wow, sparks are flying. Hey, Dave, are you nervous?
Oh, not yet.
Here's a strange inheritance quiz question. Way back in 1958, Chrysler offered a luxury option called Autopilot. What do we call that feature today? GPS, cruise control, automatic transmission, or power steering? The answer after the break. So, what was Chrysler's new Autopilot feature in 1958? It's B, cruise control.
Cal Phillips is restoring classic cars and trucks in his Idaho barn. After regretting the sale of his first fixer-upper, the retired farmer decides to keep the rest of them. So far, there are more than 20 and counting. You know, the thing that strikes me, Sherry, is he was too tired and too elderly to continue farming, but it sounds to me like with the cars, he was working just as hard.
In some ways he was, but I think he found a second wind and a second love.
Cal takes a 66 Thunderbird down to bare metal and transforms it into this mean green machine with a black vinyl top and white wall tires. And this rare 1961 Studebaker Champ pickup, Cal tunes it up, refreshes the interior, and finishes it in cool blue with lots of chrome.
You're opening this huge barn door, and all you see is these packed-in cars everywhere.
Candace Little is Cal's granddaughter.
He always would take me in and show me what he was doing.
Candace has her eye on this cherry red 1968 Mustang convertible.
He knew that I loved that Mustang. Every time I went to visit, I asked to ride in it.
So on one visit, Cal just puts Candace behind the wheel.
He wanted to teach me how to drive, and I was only 14, so I think he knew that that would be something special for me. He had a way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the world.
One car Cal's excited to restore, this 1950 Bentley that his daughter Sherry found for sale on the roadside. What kind of shape was it in?
It was in okay shape. The engine was perfect. The body needed a little work.
What did he pay for that?
$17,000.
Was that a deal at the time?
It was a very good deal at the time.
But how does that old saying go? If it's too good to be true.
He took it down to literally the bare bones and found out there were holes that were almost 5 inches wide, stuffed with tin foil and covered up with mesh and painted over. So consequently, he had a lot of work cut out for him.
To see what it takes to fix someone else's botched job, I meet Dave Lester, owner of a restoration shop in Boise, Idaho. He's been building hot rods and classics for more than 40 years.
This fender has had damage on it in the past, and it was restored by somebody that wasn't real experienced in body work.
We can do better.
Yeah. Take this grinder.
Okay. Got it. Any risk of me going too deep here?
No, we want to get down to bare metal.
Wow, sparks are flying. Hey, Dave, are you nervous?
Oh, not yet.
Grinding down a classic takes some guts, but it reveals how this 1946 Lincoln Continental, like Cal's beat-up Bentley, is hiding a heap of bad bodywork. Excess body filler was used to mask the damaged metal below.
I can just re-straighten this metal until we don't really need very much body filler.
We clearly have a long way to go on this baby. Stripping off some more paint, properly applying body filler, sanding that down. Just a few of the steps Cal would have taken on that 1950 Bentley. And after more than a year of painstaking dedication, he gets it looking good as new. It's just one of more than 50 cars he goes on to restore. In 2012, at age 87, health problems slow Cal down, but he never quite yields.
He was sick for quite a few months, but even in his worst shape, the man was still trying to find parts for cars.
Cal Phillips dies in June 2013 at age 88 and leaves his wife Marilyn the 59 cars that he'd lovingly restored and couldn't bring himself to sell. Nearly 4 years later, when she passes away, the cars are handed down to their 5 children. Sherry and her stepbrother Randy are named executors.
Was he specific about what he wanted to happen to his collection?
He was very specific. He wanted those cars to be auctioned off.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think for the fact that we have so many beneficiaries in the family, it seemed like the fair thing to do so that no one would have to be squabbling or, upset over who got what car or what.
So it's time to call in the experts.
My jaw hit the ground. There was the Rolls Royce, the Bentley, Model T, a Mustang, pickup trucks, Camaros. He had them sandwiched in there so close you could barely walk.
But how will Cal's cars appraise? Outside the barn, under the light of day.
Was his goal to make it up to factory standards?
I think he wanted to be to Cal's standards.
Here's another quiz question for you. The most miles ever driven in a single car is over 3 million. Was it a Honda, a Volvo, or a Ford? The answer when we return. So, what make of car holds the record for the most miles ever driven at more than 3 million? It's B, Volvo. The record's held by American Irvin Gordon and his 1966 P1800.
Sherry Anderson and her 4 siblings are putting their strange inheritance up for auction. 59 classic cars lovingly restored by their late father, Cal Phillips. Steering the process, Brittany Egbert at Dealers Auctions of Idaho.
What's your first reaction when you walk on somebody's property and you see how many cars?
My jaw hit the ground. I couldn't believe what we were looking at. In one barn, there was a Model T, the Rolls Royce, the Bentley. It was crazy. I couldn't believe what we saw.
Would one of the determining factors in this auction being a success be the diversity of the collection?
I think that definitely is the case because it'll bring in a whole variety of car buyers.
Was his goal to make it up to factory standards or something less?
I think he wanted to be to Cal's standards. A collector who wants a museum quality car, that's probably not what's in this collection.
Brittany tells me Cal's collection will likely attract a big crowd of enthusiasts looking for cars they can still put their own finishing touches on or drive to the local car show without breaking the bank.
This auction definitely appeals to the average car collector. If you've ever thought about collecting a car, now's your time because there's going to be a car in your price range there.
That price range, Brittany tells me, starts at about $6,000 for a car like this little Hudson Metropolitan, all the way up to $60,000 for the 1928 Rolls Royce.
We think the collection is going to bring anywhere between $550,000 and $650,000.
Really? That's a nice day's work. Well done, Cal.
But it's bittersweet for Sherry as she watches her father's cars leaving his barns.
It was a huge piece of Dad.
I understand.
Sorry, guys.
In August 2017, the cars go up for auction in Nampa, Idaho.
As you can see, these cars were a labor of love for my dad. Take them home, enjoy them, and know that there was a man that loved those cars.
First across the block, that 1957 Hudson Metropolitan.
87.5. Sold your car, sir. Sold.
It hammers in at a better than expected $9,000. Cal's oldest car, that 1919 Ford Model T Coupe,
Sold. 9520
fetches $16,500. This 52 Chevy truck goes for $11K.
Thank you.
Remember that 68 Mustang that Cal taught his granddaughter to drive in?
Here's P51 and a 1968. Look at that Mustang. 21,005. Sold right there. Grand got her bought. 21,000 bucks.
Wow, $21K. And how about that 66 Chevelle Super Sport? It revs up to $25K. Then comes that elegant Bentley that Cal spent more than a year restoring.
Yes, sir. Here's one of the stars of the show right now. A 1915 Bentley Mark 6.
The bids quickly jump to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. How high will it climb? And meet the surprise bidder next.
Whoa, whoa!
Now, back to Strange Inheritance.
August 2017. Sherry Anderson and her siblings' strange inheritance, 59 classic cars and trucks, all restored by their dad, are rolling across the auction block in south central Idaho.
It's been real emotional. These were Dad's cars. Some of them were just pieces of metal that he took in and made something so beautiful and something that all of us enjoyed at one time or another. So it is a very bittersweet moment.
The auction house estimated the Cal Phillips collection could bring in $650,000. And the way things are going, that number might be in reach.
Sold at 21,000.
One car receiving a lot of attention, Cal's 1950 Bentley. It quickly passes $30K, then $40.
Now 40,000, 40,000, now 42,500, 42,500 again, 42,500 again, 45 now, 45 to the mirror, 46,000, 46, now 5, and we have sold 46,000, 95, 41, 46,9, 5, 4, 1.
And here comes another British beauty, Cal's 1928 Rolls Royce.
50,000, get it, 50 grand, 50, 54,000, get it, 54, 4, 55,000, now 6, 55, 56 out, sold 57,000, sold 57,000, all bill.
In all, the sale of 57 of Cal's cars brings in just under 600 grand. Sherry tells me she and her 4 brothers and sisters will divide up the profits among themselves with a little going to each of Cal's grandchildren.
I think it went very well. Dad would be doing the happy dance right now. This will be the last time I see a lot of these cars. One last look, one last goodbye.
But is it goodbye or see you later?
Wait a minute. Whoa! You bought the Bentley?
Yes, we did. There was no way I was going to let this car go.
You see, before the auction, Sherry and her siblings had agreed to sell all the cars. So if any of the heirs wanted to keep one, they'd have to bid on it themselves.
It is really beautiful. I am so excited to get a good look at it.
We're not going to just look at it. We're going to ride in it.
You're taking me for a ride?
I'm taking you for a ride.
Yes! Let's go!
All right.
I would have thought it would have been louder. It kind of rides smooth.
It's actually a very, very nice car. This is a classic.
Did you pay more than you thought you'd have to?
Slightly more. Our limit was 40. We went up to 46.
Sherry tells me she has big plans for the Bentley, along with 2 other classics she and her husband purchased from her dad's collection.
We plan on opening up a vintage limo service here in Savannah. It's the number 2 wedding destination in the nation, so what better way to ride in style than riding in something like this for your special day. In honor of my dad, we've decided to name the business Callan's Classics.
I can just imagine how proud your dad must be. His little girl behind the wheel, making a business out of it.
I think he would be so thrilled and so honored and so happy.
Was Dad a classic?
Dad was an incredible classic.
Sherry tells me that even though her mom supported her dad's car hobby, there was one time she put her foot down. Cal was hot on the trail of a 1930 Ford Model A that came up for sale in a neighboring town. He was in love, but his wife Marilyn told him he had enough cars and shouldn't spend money on another one. He was upset for months. That is, until Christmas morning when he found that very car waiting for him outside, red bow and all. It had been her plan to surprise him with it all along. I'm Jamie Colby. Thanks so much for watching Strange Inheritance. And remember, you can't take it with you.